I'm here today in San Jose to research the Chicano Commencement information that may be available at San Jose State University. 50 years ago, in June of '68, 11 Chicano graduating students, we walked out of the Chicano Commencement. And we had our own Chicano Commencement on South 10th Street. And today I'm here to research because I want to write the story of how we came to that point where we wanted to embarrass San Jose State, and we wanted to also raise the issue of lack of Chicano representation at San Jose State College. Less than 1% of the student population at that time in San Jose was actually Chicano. And he happened to be surrounded by a Mexican community that comprised more than 17% of the city population at the time. And we were just not represented on campus. And we wanted the college to do something about it. We wanted our community to know how bad the educational achievement of Mexicanos was at the time. And that's why we had the Chicano Commencement.
What are some of the names of these 11 people?
Offhand, I remember Armando Valdez, who was the planner for the event, Tony Quintero, Rosa Soto, Alfonso Espinosa, Jose Rolando Villarreal, and those are the ones that I remember, but there were 11 of us, and then there's also about 12 Anglos from the Student for Democratic Society organization that walked out with us, and then there were about 14 college professors that also agreed with us from San Jose State, and rest in regalia and everything, they walked out with us.
Name yourself.
I'm Humberto Garza, and I'm here to do some research on the Chicano Commencement in the San Jose Chicano Library. 50 years ago, myself and the 11 Chicano graduating students walked out of the Chicano Commencement exercise at San Jose State that was being held at Spartan Stadium. It was a planned event. We actually, the student organization at the time was called the Mexican American Student Confederation. I was the chairman of that organization, and we decided that we were going to embarrass San Jose State because they had not been listening to us about enrolling more Chicano students at San Jose State. San Jose State at the time had more foreign students enrolled than they had Chicanos. And we represented less than 1% of the student population at San Jose State. And we knew that something had to be done. But this is something that culminated and had been going on for over 4 years. We had been 2 years before I got to San Jose State. Armando Valdez and the student organization there had been trying to reason with with San Jose State to enroll more students. But they just got the runaround, and they got excuses. When we showed up in '67, we took up the same issue with them, and in '68 we decided that we had to do something because the status quo as it was not acceptable for us. We couldn't allow it to continue as it was without doing something about it, and that's why we walked out. In the walkout, we did our research and found out that there were 29 Spanish surname graduated in that class. Over 2,000 that were graduated from San Jose State. There were 29 Spanish surname. 15 of those were graduate students, and then were foreign students. So that only left us 14 Chicanos. And of the 14 Chicanos, we asked each one of them to walk out with us. Only 11 did. And I don't remember all the names of the people that did walk out for us, but I remember Armando Valdez, Alfonso Espinosa, Tony Quintero, Rosa Soto, Jose Rolando Villarreal, and there were about 12 Anglo students from the Student Democratic Society, the campus organization that walked out with us in support. And then there were 3 Anglo professors from the philosophy department, 2 from the psychology department, and 1 from the speech department, and about 4 others, Anglo professors that walked out with us. We didn't know what the results of the walkout would be, but we had succeeded in embarrassing San Jose State. And to the credit of the president of the college, Roberto Clark, as we were walking out, he told the audience, he says, let them walk out in peace. What they're doing is a just cause. Let them go in peace. And when I heard that, that made me feel good, because we were worried about the riot squad being there, about 400 of them, and we know that there were 350 U.S. Marshals also there in the audience that were ready to pounce on us. But we went off peacefully, and that was good. When we got across out of the stadium and then across 10th Street onto the track field, Dr. Octavio Romano from Berkeley, University of California at Berkeley, he was our keynote speaker, and he had about 4 pages written, and he took them, tore them up into small pieces, threw them up into the air, and he says, this is the most beautiful event I've ever seen. A speech cannot do it justice, you know. And then he turned to Armando Valdez, who was our MC and one of the people that walked out, and he gave him the mic, and then Armando took the mic and he says, well, let's have music and let's dance. And then he gave the mic to Luis Valdez from Santo Campesino, who was there, and they provided the music and the people, and we danced. And we had a good time, and then we took photos, and about within an hour we all went home. But it was a good event. And we didn't know what the results of this would be. But a week later, Dr. Jose Carrasco was informed, who was the chairman of the Committee on Mexican American Affairs at San Jose State. He was informed that the chancellor had changed his mind, because 3 times before we had requested that they allow us to bring in more students, and the chancellor's office had refused. Although, to the credit of San Jose State President Roberto Clark, he said, I'll willingly give you 250 slots. He says, but I need the consent of the chancellor to do that. And the chancellor was refusing. 2 times he refused us. So a week after the Chicano Commencement Walkout, we were told we could have 400 slots. And that we knew that we succeeded. We had actually kicked down the doors of admission, and that we could bring Chicano students on campus. And we did. That year we brought in 250, because the blacks wanted 200 of those 400 slots, and we said, no way. We're going to recruit as many as we can. And we only had, from the 2nd week of June to the last week in August, to actually recruit and accept people. So we couldn't get as many as we wanted, but we got 258. And that's how we started the first Chicano EOP in the state of California. This should be known that in 1958, we were the only state college and the only university that had a Chicano EOP program. The others didn't have any EOP program at all until the following year. We opened the doors. We made it possible for the others to get their EOP program. But nobody gives us credit for that. As you walk out the Fillmore Stadium at Barton Stadium, on the east side, there's a parking lot. And across the street from the parking lot is South 10th Street. Across the street from South 10th Street is a track field. In the track field, there were some bleachers there, and that's where we had our Chicano commencement, right on the track field, on South 10th Street. In that commencement, I know that my parents had come, And and I know that my cuñado's parents had come because he was also one of the graduated students. And his whole family, actually his sisters and his grandmother, had flown in from Mexico to see him graduate. And we had about 200 community supporters, basically our parents, that walked out for us, and friends that walked out with us. And some of them did it willingly, you know. My dad was a campesino, he belonged to the UFW, and he was an active member, so he knew about picketing, he knew about demonstrations, and he willingly participated, so did Mom. Although they didn't like it because they thought, you know, we shouldn't be doing this in college. They didn't send me to college so that I could protest. And it was a good experience, but they did support us, and it was great to have their support. And it was a very good feeling after we pulled it off without any incident. And as chairman of the Chicano student organization on campus, I was responsible for the security of the event. So my baby aerial assistant, my compadre Jesus Reina, he was my assistant, and he and Eddie Flores and I made sure that no outsiders caused any trouble, and no outsiders got, no incidents took place. And we were very relieved that they went off very peacefully. And we're happy that when it happened. It was a great event. And the results of it, we didn't understand at the time how great an impact it would have on Chicano activities at San Jose State, or in the city of San Jose for that matter, or in the state, because we got EOP in San Jose the following year. Everybody got an EOP. All the state colleges and all the state universities in California started an EOP program. But we had ours a year before. We had forced the college to give us one, and that was fantastic. In 1965, the Chicano students under Armando Valdez formed a Chicano student organization with about 4 faculty advisors called Student Initiative, C. And they were the ones that brought the concern and the issue of under-enrollment of Chicano students at San Jose State. And they've been fighting that for over 2 years. In 67, they were able to get the State College to agree to allow 12 students from San Jose City College to transfer to San Jose State under a project called LEAP, Latent Education Abilities Programs, that's what it was called. And under those 12 special admission groups came myself, Jesus Reina, Sal Gascon, Eddie Flores, Julian Quesada, Judith Garza, and I don't remember the others, but that's 6 out of the 12. And we formed Los Amigos Club when we got to San Jose State, and then Student Initiative asked us to join together, so we formed the Mexican American Student Confederation, and we had elections, and I became the first chairman of the Mexican American Student Confederation organization on San Jose. And as such, we continue with the issues that we were fighting on, basically under enrollment. And after a semester of being there, to the surprise of the college administration, we carried better than a 3-point average. The 12 students that came from transferred under special admissions, we did better than 3-point average. And the lowest one was a 2.5, and he was very pleased. President Murrieta Clark was very pleased with that. So we asked him for more slots, and he refused because he didn't have that many slots. And he says, the most I can come up with, maybe it'd be another 14 or 20 at the most. He said, no, we need at least 250. And he said, well, I need to get the chancellor's permission for that. So he said, well, write him a letter. We had formed the Committee on Mexican American Affairs, and I said, ask a member of that committee because we had three members from the student organization, we had three community members and one professor, college professor on it. And we met with the president on a monthly basis and sometimes more than monthly, on a weekly basis, depending on what issues we had going at the time. And under enrollment of Chicanos in San Jose State was the main issue for us. We needed to do something about that. And the chancellor was notified in writing by the president, and the chancellor refused our request. So we asked the committee chairman, Dr. Jose Carrasco, asked him to submit the request again and to tell them that we were serious, that we wanted those lots. And the chancellor received another letter. This time it was written in writing. And again, he refused. And he said, at that point, in 67, around late April 67, that we decided we were going to walk out of that college on the commencement exercise. We needed to embarrass the college, and we needed to alert our community as to how bad the situation was. They were paying taxes and supporting educational activities at San Jose State and other state colleges and universities, and our community was not benefiting from that. We thought that was very unfair, that was very unjust. And as veterans, we felt that we had paid our dues. We had paid our dues to this country. We wanted what was rightfully ours, and we weren't going to settle for any less than first-class citizenship. Nothing would keep us from getting that. And we wanted to be treated like that. And we weren't going to take their excuses anymore. And that's why we walked out. Dr. Jose Carrasco at the time did not have his doctor's degree. My compadre was a junior high English teacher at Roosevelt Junior High. And we had learned about him because he had just gone through a walkout with the Chicano students at Roosevelt High School that year, and he was the only Chicano professor that walked out with him, and we were very close to him. And he became one of the student representatives, and he was the chairman of the Mexican American Student Association. Later on, he went on and got his doctor's degree from Stanford, but at the time, he was just a junior high teacher, English teacher. Consuelo Rodriguez was also a teacher at that junior high. He also walked out with the students that time. Before the walkout, the Committee on Mexican Affairs was working on other issues. One of the things that we had gotten the college to concede was they hired Dr. Feliciano Rivera, who was had his doctor's degree in history, and he taught one course in Mexican American history, and that was the only thing we had at the time, but it was a start. And we were able to get the administration to agree to create a Chicano Research Institute in the fall semester of '68. And that was supposed to start. So we had already gotten those concessions. The main issue was under student enrollment was not there though, and that we couldn't let go. And so once we did the walkout, a week later, Dr. Carrasco, Jose Carrasco at the time, was notified by the president's office that we could bring in 400 students, and that was a relief. But we only had about 2 months and a week to recruit, and we were able to get 250. The blacks who wanted to get 200 of those lots were not able to. They admitted about a little less than 100 that year, but they still wanted 50%, and we kept fighting them for that. There was no way that in the state of California, in the county of Santa Clara, in the city of San Jose, that they were going to get 50%. No way. We were 17% of the population. They were not even 1% of the population in the city of San Jose. It was very, very unfair what they were asking for. And that's the way I always felt about it, and that's the way Chicanos felt about it. But after the walkout, the thing that happened that was fantastic is we got the students, and we had a lot of work to do because many of them came unprepared, that we had to start tutoring, and counseling support systems, the financial aid system, to make sure that we didn't lose them and to make sure that they succeeded. And we hired Luca Garza, who later on got his doctor's degree, and he became the first Chicano EOP director at the time. And it was really fantastic. Because of what we did, a couple of months later, we were able to get the college to agree to give us a Mexican American Studies department that would offer a master's degree in Chicano Studies, the first one in the nation. And we hired Dr. Luca Garza to actually head the department. And the committee itself brought in experts, or Chicano educators that we knew had knowledge of different fields of Chicano studies, that we actually videotaped, and interviewed to develop the curriculum out of the Committee on Mexican American Affairs. And at that time, we were meeting at least weekly just for that development. And that was a very, very rewarding and learning experience for me and anybody else that participated in that committee. It was really fantastic to hear these educators talk about all the things that we had and the things that we needed and the things that should be included in a master's degree at San Jose State for Chicanos. Well, the main one was Dr. Feliciano Rivera, Dr. Luca Garza, and we brought in Jorge Acevedo, who was at that time was just a community person. We brought in Randall Jimenez, who was working on his master's degree in history. Ourselves, Tino Esparza was a big contributor. He was a very read person, although he was just a student who was graduating. He just recently graduated. He was a very well-read person, and he had a lot to contribute. I was surprised how much he knew about other disciplines and how important they were, and how important it was to be interdisciplinary and not just one-dimensional. It was fantastic. It was, like I said, a very great learning experience for me. And I think I learned more in the development of that curriculum than I went through all my years of college. It was a very rewarding experience. And besides that, like once we'd done that and we got that, it seems like the college was now didn't want to say no to us. So when we were there, one of the community representatives on the Committee on Mexican American Affairs was at that time Sal Alvarez. He hadn't gotten a doctor's degree yet, but he was working on it in Berkeley in social work, and he says, we should have a Chicano School of Social Work. And we got the college to agree to that. So a year after we started the Mexican American Studies Department, we started the first Chicano social work school in the United States at San Jose State. And that was headed by Paul Sanchez at the time. He brought him in to set up the curriculum and to select the staff, and they had a year planning to open it. And I thought that was very significant.